Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for joining this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. With our great fortune, today we have His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta. Thank you, Prabhu, and welcome to the session. You can take over whenever you are ready, Prabhu.
Haribo.
Hare.
Apologize, my voice is a little affected by this cold weather here in Atlanta, but I'll do my best. I'll skip trying to chant Jai Radha Madhava. Don't think I have the voice for that. But Om Agyanati Mirandasa Jananjanan Talakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamaya Tadate Swapadante Tam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading
amogha-saṅkalpa ūrṇanābhir yathorṇute tathā tad-viṣayāṁ dhehi manīṣāṁ mayi mādhava.
Thank you, Vishnu Prabhu. That's
Oh,
very
wow. Oh, I didn't know my audio was on. Sorry about that.
No, that was very helpful because I was struggling with my voice anyway. Thank you. Anyone else would like to try the verse?
krīḍasy amogha-saṅkalpa ūrṇanābhir yathorṇute tathā tad-viṣayāṁ dhehi manīṣāṁ mayi mādhava. Hare.
Hare Krishna. Anyone
Hare
else?
Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
क्रीडस्य मोघसङ्कल्प ūrṇanābhir yathorṇute tathā tad-viṣayāṁ dhehi manīṣāṁ mayi mādhava. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Word for word. Krīḍasy, as you play. Amogha, infallible. Saṅkalpa, determination. ūrṇanābhir, the spider. Yatha, as much as. ūrṇanute, covers. Tathā, so and so. tad-viṣayāṁ, in the subject of all those. Dhehi, do let me know. manīṣāṁ, philosophically. Mayi, unto me. Mādhava, O master of all energies. Translation, purport by His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. Purport. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, every creative element has its own potencies, known as the potency of the element, potency of knowledge, and potency of different actions and reactions. By a combination of such potential energies of the Lord, there is the manifestation of creation, maintenance, and annihilation in due course of time, and by different agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva destroys, but all such agents and creative energies are emanations from the Lord. And as such, there is nothing except the Lord, or the one supreme source of different diversities. The exact example is the spider and the spider's web. The web is created by the spider and it is maintained by the spider, and as soon as the spider likes, the whole thing is wound up within the spider. The spider is covered within the web. If an insignificant spider is so powerful as to act according to its will, why can't the Supreme Being act by his supreme will in the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmic manifestations? By the grace of the Lord, a devotee like Brahma, or one in his chain of disciplic succession, can understand the almighty personality of Godhead, eternally engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the region of different energies. Let me read that one more time. By the grace of the Lord, a devotee like Brahma, or one in his chain of disciplic succession, can understand the almighty personality of Godhead, eternally engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the region of different energies. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascharta Destarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Go Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada begins the purport with reference to inconceivable energy. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord. So that term, inconceivable energy, is elaborately described in many places, but I want to refer first to Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was looking for that verse. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jana Balakriya Cha. So it's referred to in this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Madhya Lila chapter 3, Madhya Lila 3, which is this volume. Chapter 13, verse 64 and 65. 64 is, according to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. And in 65, indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes. But his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. Purport. It is stated in Upanishads, Parasya Shaktir Vidvidaiva Shruyate Sabhavaki Jnana Bhala Kriya Cha. The Supreme Lord has multi-potencies which act so perfectly that all consciousness, strength, and activity are being directed solely by his will. That's from the Sweta Swatara Upanishad 6.8. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his mystic power in presenting himself simultaneously in each and every Sankirtan group. Most people thought that he was one, but some saw that he was many. The internal devotees could understand that the Lord, although one, was exhibiting himself as many in the different Sankirtan groups. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he forgot himself and was simply absorbed in ecstatic bliss. But his internal potency arranged everything perfectly. This is the difference between the internal and external potency. In the material world, the external potency, material energy, can act only after one endeavors at great length. But when the Supreme Lord desires, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency. So that's a very interesting and instructive point, that the material energy can only act after one endeavors at great length. So we see in this material world, everyone's trying to achieve some goal, create something, do something, go somewhere. But everything it requires so much endeavor. We don't have the potency to simply think about it and then it just happens. We have to endeavor. But in the spiritual activities of the Lord, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency, just by the Lord thinking or desiring, everything happens. So that verse, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shuyate, all these multi-potencies, they act so perfectly. Consciousness, strength, activity are being directed solely by his will. As Srila Prabhupada said in the last part of the 13th chapter of Krishna book, the last chapter that he translated, and as he himself said in the video where Prabhupada is lying in his bed and he's translating, the devotees are holding the dictaphone, and he's translating and he's saying everything is acting and moving by the arrangement of the Supreme. This consciousness is Krishna consciousness. What is that consciousness? That everything is being done by Krishna. But the opposite is we think everything's being done by us. We think that we're doing things. I forget the verse now, 327 Bhagavad Gita. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. Ahankara vimud atma kartaham iti manyate. Ahankara vimud atma. By the false ego. This ahankar, vimud atma. The bewildered spirit soul thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are being carried out by nature. And then nature is being controlled by Krishna, which is another verse we'll look at in a few minutes. So even though we strive or we struggle to achieve different things, do different things, we tend to forget that is not within our power. It's actually being done ultimately by Krishna, but he has his agents, the demigods. From what I remember, there are 33 million different demigods controlling all the functions of our body and activities. But the point I'm making is that we forget, even as devotees, we forget. That is not under our control. We have the right to perform the endeavor. And depending on our level of awareness or intelligence or research, we may strive to do something. But the striving, the activity, the motion, just like I'm moving my hand, I have no idea how that's happening. I'm thinking it, willing it, thinking, willing, and thinking, willing. I'm losing my memory right now, but we're feeling it, thinking and feeling and willing these activities to happen. So there it goes, it's moving. But how it's moving, I don't know. I don't know all the muscles and the nerve endings and that's causing this to happen. Sometimes I use this example, and quite often I use this example when I'm trying to get people, especially in the secular world where I go out and I speak here and there. So to get them to understand that they're not the controller, first I quote that verse, 327. Then I asked them, move your hand. Just move it. And most people comply. Then I asked them, how did you do that? Did you instruct every single muscle to move? And they have to answer no. They think for a second because they're doing it and they've been doing it their whole lives. Now they're being challenged to understand, what are you doing? And they, like I say, most people who are honest, they will say, I don't really know. I never thought about it. That's the key. People don't think about these things. Philosophers of all stripes, whether they're in Vedic culture or mundane culture, they stop and they think about things. They analyze. They look at small details and try to come to some understanding. But again, I'm referring back to devotees. We sometimes lose that process, but we don't think clearly enough about different activities. So just like this, we don't understand it. The creation of the Lord, we don't understand it. We move within it as if we are the controller every single day, all of us. We move through this world with great difficulty, thinking ourselves to be the controller. And Krishna, just by his will, everything is moving. Here is saying that he forgot himself, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's not different from Krishna. He forgot himself in the Sankirtan, just transcendently chanting and dancing. But his internal potency acts for him. But when the Supreme Lord desires, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency. So we have to remember these things. We have to remember, as Prabhupada said, everything is acting and moving by the arrangement of the Supreme. This consciousness is Krishna consciousness. What is the consciousness? That everything is acting by Krishna's arrangement, not mine. It's like now I'm struggling with my voice. I want to get it back. I drink some water. I take some tablets, but it's not under my control. Krishna will give it when he wants to give it. It's like our memory. I try to remember something and it doesn't come. Srila Prabhupada one time in the lecture said, my memory has become old. And I just laughed every time I hear that because he's trying to remember a verse. This is Srila Prabhupada demonstrating in his own life. He felt, he knew he was not the controller. He said, my memory has become old. So we know from Bhagavad Gita, the memory, forgetfulness, intelligence, all comes from Krishna. So we attribute everything to Krishna. He's controlling everything. The good and the bad, all controlled by him. So a little further in this purport. Again, by his will, things happen so nicely and perfectly that they appear to be carried out automatically. That's another point. It just looks like things are just going on, but it's going on by the will of Krishna. Material nature has no independent function. It works under the control of Krishna. In fact, all the activities of material nature are actually performed by the inconceivable energy of the Lord. As I mentioned, that's the beginning of the purport that we're reading today. Inconceivable energy of the Lord. But so-called scientists and students of material nature are unable to understand ultimately how things are happening. That's very interesting because there's so many quote unquote intelligent people with degrees, studying at universities, so much education, but they don't understand how things are happening. And as I said, generally speaking, they don't stop to think about it. Philosophers do. They stop and they think about creation, how things are going on, but they don't have an answer. They think about it, but they don't have an answer. Therefore, bahunam janmanan ante jnanavan man paparjate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sadulava. After many lifetimes of thinking about it, philosophizing about it, writing about it, maybe they'll catch or they'll get involved in spiritual activity and then more elevated devotional activities to the point of being Vaishnavas, and then Vasudeva Sarvamiti, which is the conclusion that all of us involved in Krishna consciousness we know that conclusion, but sometimes we don't remember how to apply that conclusion. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. That means Vasudeva Krishna is everything. He's the ultimate. So during our daily activities, we have to come back to that realization. And what helps us stay on track is spending some time in the early morning hours, especially reading Prabhupada's books and hearing Srila Prabhupada. As I say, every day, I send out a lecture of Srila Prabhupada to devotees in 4 or 5 different WhatsApp groups, and I get some good response. Devotees appreciate that. Reminding them, hear Prabhupada's voice, hear how he explains things, and then you try to emulate that. You don't try to imitate. You try to imbibe it. That was the word I was looking at this morning, imbibing, which is very interesting. Imbibing means to receive into the mind and retain. So I applied that saying, to receive into the mind, early morning, retain it, the teachings and example given by Srila Prabhupada. I found it just very interesting. So by doing that early morning process of hearing and chanting and then remembering, then our day tends to go a little smoother, a little nicer. We begin to appreciate different aspects of what's happening during the day in our Krishna consciousness. So it says that so-called scientists and students of material nature are unable to understand ultimately how things are happening. So we as devotees, by regularly attending classes on the Bhagavatam, by regularly reading Srila Prabhupada's books, we can understand how things are happening. So therefore, we should not become bewildered during the day. I get a lot of phone calls sometimes from devotees who are going through different aspects of their life. And it happens throughout the day. And sometimes they're just bewildered about what to do. And I just remind them of a couple of things from the Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam. For instance, when you're struggling with material desires, which all of us are to some degree or another, some more than others, I go to a specific verse throughout the day. It's chapter 2, text 70. And it basically says, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desire.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it seems like His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu's connection is not good. Let's see. Let's wait for a minute and see if he comes back. Yeah, he might join back. While he will join back, we can read the translation again. Oh, Master.
Haribo, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Welcome back.
Now, what happens, my Wi-Fi is in and out. I hope
Yeah.
it doesn't happen again. Sorry about that.
No worries. Hare Krishna.
Okay. All right, so where was I? I was in some space in my mind. But again, the main point being that we should begin our day with hearing and chanting, fill our minds with Krishna consciousness, and then we can navigate in the world much more effectively, more focused. So I want to finish this purport. It says they evasively conclude that everything is being done by nature, but they do not know that behind nature is the potent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita, and this is the second verse I want to bring up, 9:10. Mayad yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena konteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. And this is just one quick reference from Srila Prabhupada here. See if I can find it. Yes. In the purport, he explains, the Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by material nature. Further down, he says, he simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There's a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. So let's see. Yes. I was looking for some references to achinta, beta tattva. But it's interesting, I couldn't find hardly anything with that phrase, achinta, beta tattva. But the way it was, the way I could find it was inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. There are many references to that. So Prabhupada didn't use the Sanskrit term, achinta, beta tattva that many times, but he gave the understanding simultaneously one and different. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by his will, everything is happening, and those who cooperate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead are able to function progressively in their life. But most people have no idea that the Lord is behind the things. And if they have an idea that there is a God, they have no sense of how God is operating. They have this idea God is this old man, just working hard, maintaining the universe. Actually, it shows him holding the world, not the entire universe, in that famous painting. But how is he controlling, how is he maintaining the universe? He has his representatives, the demigods. And specifically is mentioning here Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, different departments of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. So as I was meditating on this, and please forgive me if I get a little bit off topic, but this is something that came into my heart. It's like we are representatives of Srila Prabhupada. So I'm using the framework of the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Lord and how everything is working under his control to understand a point about Srila Prabhupada. Is that, and Srila Prabhupada never claimed to be Krishna. So it's not like, he said, I have inconceivable potencies and everything is acting under my control. But let's think about it like this. Our movement was going on and is still going on by the potency of Srila Prabhupada's dedication to his guru and Krishna. So he had that strong faith, and everything he did was based on his realization of the position of his Guru Maharaj and Krishna. So somehow or another, that potency has entered into our hearts, or should enter into our hearts. And by Prabhupada's mercy, potency, we are able to carry on the Krishna consciousness movement only by relating to Srila Prabhupada. There's just no other way I can understand it. Maybe there's some different understandings, but that's the only way I can understand it. None of us, we do as a spirit soul have power, but none of us in this human form have the ability to carry the weight of the Krishna consciousness movement. That's being done by Srila Prabhupada. It's like Prabhupada is physically gone from our vision. It's like Krishna is not in our vision. We can't see Krishna as he is, but we can see how Krishna is doing things by examining the material energy to see his potencies, rising and setting of the sun, so many things. So we can see how Prabhupada's presence is still permeating the entire movement everywhere. Those who sincerely follow him. Conversely, those who don't follow him, we can see where there's constant confusion, chaos, in some cases, destruction. How? Just by forgetting Prabhupada. It's so simple, at least in my mind. It is so extremely simple. Just by forgetting Prabhupada, we have problems in our personal lives and within the movement as a whole. So then if we remember Srila Prabhupada and we remember his instructions, then we can, throughout the day, throughout our lives, go back to this one point that he said. Everything is acting and moving by the arrangement of the Supreme. Everything. So where did we learn that? We learned that from Srila Prabhupada. So as we read his books, especially, and we study, as he says, scrutinizingly, we can put things into perspective. So this point about understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so clearly explained by Srila Prabhupada. And then, as I said, understanding how the movement is moving by the grace of Srila Prabhupada should be something that we put in the front of our minds. Never to think that we are, the controller, that, things are happening because of me, my intelligence, just keeping everything simple. So what I like a lot is in 13th chapter, verses 8 through 12, the first principle of knowledge, because everyone's going after knowledge. So the first principle of knowledge is humility, not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. So keeping that principle, humble, understanding Supreme Personality of God is controlling everything, understanding that Srila Prabhupada is the essence of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's all moving by his influence. Then we can stay on track. Another example is the example of Lord Brahma and Lord Lord Indra. Lord Brahma got off track by forgetting that Krishna is supreme controller, by taking the cowherd boys and the calves and then putting them away. But then subsequently he realized his mistake. And Lord Indra, he did, as we just celebrated, Govardhan Puja, he challenged Krishna, forgetting Krishna's position. So we have that same problem. We forget our position as Jiver Surupaya Krishna or Nityadas, as eternal servants of Krishna. And then within that context, we forget that Krishna is controlling everything. And within the context of the Hare Krishna movement, we forget that everything is being done by the remembrance of Srila Prabhupada, by applying what Prabhupada taught us or is teaching us in his books, his lectures, everything. He's giving us that vision to be able to see. It's like Arjuna could not see the universal form of Krishna until Krishna gave him divine vision. And I give you divine vision. Dhruva Maharaj could not express himself in the presence of the Lord until the Lord blessed him by touching his head. So we will forget. We will become distracted if we forget. As Prabhupada said, everything is acting by the arrangement of the Supreme. And as I pointed out, and this is just my realization, everything is acting positively in the Krishna consciousness movement by those who remember Srila Prabhupada. The negative things happen when we forget Srila Prabhupada. Simple example is Arjuna, and I don't remember the whole pastime, when he was entrusted with the wives of Krishna after Krishna left Dwarka. And as Prabhupada describes it, as he was traveling, and I believe in Mahabharata it talks about through the Caucasus Mountains with the wives of Krishna. And he was attacked by some infidel, it says infidel cowherdsmen, but I've heard it described different ways. So Arjuna could not protect them because he forgot Krishna. That was a realization. He forgot Krishna. So all of his prowess, his fighting abilities, everything was lost. So we've seen it repeatedly in the Krishna consciousness movement. Those who were so powerful, unbelievably powerful devotees, forgetting Prabhupada, lose everything, fall away, fall down, even up to the point of guru, which is amazing. So that should say to us, so those devotees who went through that, who experienced that, some of them are trying to crawl their way back into the grace of Srila Prabhupada because they realize that I was only there because of Prabhupada. Like whenever we speak, or give a lecture or whatever. Whatever we say, we try our best to keep it aligned to what Prabhupada taught. It's never what I think or you think. I've heard it said before, when you say I think, you should go in the closet and lock the door. Nobody wants to really hear what you think, unless your thinking is in alignment, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. If you're thinking what you're thinking and assuming, if you can confirm it, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. Just like my dear God brother Vishnu Prabhu, he and I, we do that a lot with each other. We're thinking about something, and then we discuss it, bounce it off each other, make sure we're on track, share some verses, share some experiences, and then we come to a conclusion. Okay, now I can say this. Like the other day, I said something in a lecture, and I thought I was remembering it correctly, but somehow possibly it was not correct. And then I talked to Vishnu Prabhu about it, and he helped me to sort of put it in perspective. So that's humility. I'm not humble, but that's the practice that you should check. You should check to make sure what you're thinking is correct. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada has given us the map to help us navigate in this world. Sometimes that's called, what is that phrase they use? Paradigm shift. The paradigm is kind of like a roadmap, how you see life. So Srila Prabhupada has given us that ability by way of his books. I thank you very much, Prabhu, for putting the cover of the first canto there. It's so beautiful, reminding us of that wonderful painting. So in this way, Krishna has inconceivable potencies. Everything is acting by his arrangement, just by his will. In a sense, I'm hesitating to use the word inconceivable in reference to Srila Prabhupada, but by his potency, the potency of Prabhupada's endeavors, Prabhupada's love for his spiritual master and Krishna, that potency is what I'm feeling, and I pray for all of us to feel. That I'm only able to do anything in Krishna consciousness. You can look at two ways. Material life endeavors, material nature is controlling, Krishna's controlling material nature, that's already going on. Spiritual life, that internal potency type activity. That's only by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. It's not by the impact or whatever of your intelligence or your accumulated wealth or your status in this movement or outside this movement. No. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Srila Prabhupada's teachings, we hang on to that. We guide our lives, or we structure our lives in that way, then things will be fine. So materialistic people, it's difficult for them to understand the inconceivable potency of the Lord, which is the point of this verse today. Just to go back to it one more time. O Master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, every creative element has its own potencies, known as the potency of the element, potency of knowledge, and potency of different actions and reactions. So again, I'm just relating that to Srila Prabhupada, and forgive me if I went too deep into it, but this movement is acting and moving by the influence of Srila Prabhupada. And we just have to remember, by remembering Srila Prabhupada, we can remain focused and we can remain stable in our devotional practice. By forgetting Srila Prabhupada, all the troubles that we are intelligently articulating everywhere, Facebook, this book, that book, writing about it, all those intelligent articulations that devotees do indicate to me, I've read some of those things, forgetfulness of Prabhupada. What did Prabhupada do in this circumstance? One time Vishnu came up with that idea. Like they say, what would Jesus do? So I believe he said, what would Prabhupada do, or what would Prabhupada say? You should practice that. Before you decide something outside the scope of your sadhana is very specific.
Hare Krishna, it seems we again lost Prabhuji due to bad connection. So hopefully he will be back. Hare Krishna. So in the meantime, we can think about some questions, some comments that we would like to discuss when Prabhuji is back. Yeah, he's back now.
I'm so sorry, Prabhu. Are you still there?
Yes, Prabhu, we are there.
I'll finish with that one little example I was giving
No problem.
about Meenu Purushottam. So what happened was when she was here in Atlanta to do a concert, one devotee had done something which was kind of off color. And Meenu Purushottam told him, she said, Prabhu, before you do anything, you should think 100 times, what would Prabhupada say? What would Prabhupada do? It was just so striking that this, and she was very dedicated to ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada. She said, you should think 100 times, what would Prabhupada do? What would Prabhupada say? Very interesting. So I'll stop with that and let's see if we have some comments, and hopefully I won't lose my connection again.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for wonderful points, and as always, bringing us back to Srila Prabhupada, always making sure that we don't forget him. So I see a question from, I saw a hand raised and it went down now, so I'm not sure.
Sarvanga Prabhu.
Oh, Sarvang Sundar Prabhu, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept number obeisances.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So my base goes Prabhupada.
So, we have Vishnugada Prabhu, so maybe he wants to comment or say something.
Sure. Hare Krishna, Vishnugada Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada. Any comments, any questions, Prabhu, you would like to?
Oh, the Sarvanga Sundar Damodar asked me to give a question?
Yes.
He wanted your input.
He wanted you to go first.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a very important meditation. Devotees, there are many intelligent devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, and sometimes, you know, we're and very creative devotees. And so how can we, there may be new programs or other programs that we're doing. They might be in the realm of hatha yoga or in the realm of social outreach, or even how we do kirtan or present the philosophy. And there's an interest in, from what you're saying, is the interest is to keep it strictly according to parampara, according to Srila Prabhupada's method and teachings. Do you have any other recommendations? I know what happens a lot of times in classes nowadays is devotees quote from a variety of books that are not necessarily from Srila Prabhupada and various other books without knowing what Srila Prabhupada says on, or without perhaps presenting what Srila Prabhupada says on the matter.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice or recommendation about these things?
Number one, be careful when quoting from other scriptures. It's not that we can't, because in Prabhupada's books, he just quoted from Sweta Upanishad. He quotes from this place, that place. So we can, use that as a kind of platform, a motif to do it. But I think what you're referring to is devotees who studying books by the other acharyas, and things have not been vetted by Srila Prabhupada by way of his purports and his classes and things. And we bring those points in. And what I am hesitant about is devotees giving commentary on these different books, their own commentaries. So I'm a little hesitant to accept it when the person's giving their own commentary on the books of the acharyas. In other words, they know a little Sanskrit and they translate a little bit, and they give their commentary on that. I can't condemn it, but I'm very nervous about that. I'm very comfortable with Srila Prabhupada's purports, commentaries, and then when devotees speak about that, that's very assuring. So, yeah, so I think they have to be very careful. But one thing I did want to point out in terms of innovative things happening, and some of you may have already heard about, it's called bhajan clubbing. Club as in nightclub, clubbing. Some of you may have heard that term. So it's a big phenomenon in India right now. And it's being presented on, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. And it just so resembles what our devotees are doing in terms of kirtan programs. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, but just a very term and identifying bhajan clubbing. So they say instead of going to a nightclub, they go to a bhajan club, and they're all chanting, and I guess they chant Hare Krishna as well sometimes. So it's a new phenomenon. Whether it's directing them to Krishna's lotus feet is my concern. I have no problem with kirtans being on a stage, being wherever it might be, devotees chanting and dancing. My concern is whether or not they're being directed to Krishna's lotus feet and thinking of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, how did he do things? So that's a little bit of my concern about being innovative. I'm also part of an innovative history, being, a member of the Murari band. We started in 1975. We made records, performed in so many different places. But by the grace of Krishna, we had the guidance of Jayapataka Swami, my temple president, keeping us on target, which meant devotional programs are the most important thing. This music is nice, but it's not the most important thing. And I just wonder if devotees sometimes get away from that and start becoming, the center of attention. That's the dangerous part. Never try to be the center of attention. Make all the attention for Krishna. So there's nothing wrong with creativity. Prabhupada liked it. But if it went off the track or veered off the track, he would stop it or somehow bring it back. So you can share some more thoughts on that, Vishnu Prabhu. I'm sure it'll be helpful for the devotees.
Well, you mentioned, as you mentioned, it's being very cautious about it is important. Not only be cautious, but also checking with other devotees also to get their view, because anyway, innovations, they tend to a new thing happens and it spreads all over ISKCON everywhere in a half a second. So that's that goes on like that. There's so many things that people will say, devotees will say in a class. For example, one of my godbrothers was giving class on the appearance table of Ramchandra. And he was saying how actually the Lord Ramchandra that we read about in Valmiki Ramayana, etc., did not appear in the previous, just this past Treta Yuga. He appeared in the previous Treta Yuga. You might have heard this before. Where, this is the 28th revolution of the 4 yugas. So, and he quoted from a different book, which was ostensibly bona fide.
Yeah.
So then, what do you think about that? Maybe others know about this. Maybe you've heard the same thing.
I haven't heard it. Is anyone else aware of that?
I have heard it. I think it is in Varaha Puran or some Puran where it says, I think 27th Yuga cycle. He appeared, or 23rd, I forgot, but something different here.
Yeah. So actually, it was presented twice in the lectures in the Philadelphia temple, one by two different of my godbrothers. Anyway, so and Srila Prabhupada in the 5th canto describes how Lord Ramachandra appears in various yugas, sometimes as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha with his 3 brothers, and sometimes as Narayan, Shankarshan, Chakra, and Gada. But anyway, but in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the first verse, he gives the lineage, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshvakave Bravit.
Yes.
So when I questioned my godbrother about it, he said, "Oh, well, no, Prabhupada never said he was in this past Treta Yuga. Well, I said, look in this verse. He said, no, it doesn't say that. He said, look carefully. And there it says, Prabhupada gives the lineage that Lord Ramachandra appeared about 2 million years ago. About 2 million years ago, which means what? Must have been in this past Treta Yuga, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, how long? Yeah, at the beginning, because the Valmiki Ramayana says it's at the beginning of Treta Yuga. The beginning of Treta Yuga, you got 864,000 years in Dvapar Yuga and another 432,000 of Treta Yuga. Yeah, and so another person was saying, there's the Ramcharitamanas by Tulsidas, and somebody was saying, well, Tulsidas is the reincarnation of Valmiki.
Mm.
And Tulsidas is so an appropriate answer would be, I've never heard that from any scripture, any Srila Prabhupada ever said this. So it's these kinds of ideas come up all over the place nowadays. It's all over the place in ISKCON. These kinds of different coming from different places, and as a result, as you said, that the potency becomes minimized, reduced, and that's unfortunate.
Oh, yes, very unfortunate, because it's passing down to the next generation. All these things, like you mentioned, kirtan, giving class, quoting this, doing that. It has to be a little bit of a monitor situation from those. Like, we're very fortunate to have you on the class, Vishnu Prabhu, because you help us stay on track, and I really appreciate that. And I know all the devotees here appreciate that as well. But that's not the case everywhere. Where devotees with immense experience and background in Krishna consciousness are just sort of being forgotten or pushed to the side. The other day I was watching a video of Mukunda Maharaj, who's one of my, I really love him a lot, one special devotee. And the one Mataji is interviewing him, and he's doing a darshan of the deities, and he's using a walker. And I'm watching him using a walker. And that's big smile that he's had since first came to Srila Prabhupada. He still flashes that smile to the devotees and does his pranams to the deities, even though he can't get down in all obeisances. But just by his nature, you can see that he's dedicated to Prabhupada. I don't know what all he's been through in life, but I can see at the end of his life, his love for Srila Prabhupada is amazing. So just by seeing it, I'm inspired. I mean, as I'm thinking of it now, it almost brings me to tears. By seeing someone who started with Prabhupada, still in a humble way serving Prabhupada, that speaks volumes. So I think devotees need to look at these examples. There are some bad examples, definitely, but there's some really nice examples of people who are still really dedicated to Prabhupada and not going out on a limb with their own ideas, with their own whatever, but just staying to this straight and narrow. That's my conclusion, that our life is temporary. We don't know how long we have. And we've invested 10 years, 15 years, 50 years into this movement. We're almost there. And Prabhupada said, at whatever point you realize it, take it seriously then. So we're almost there, whether it's been 10 years or 50. Any one of us could die at any second. Like Vishnu Prabhu, our dear God brother Charodeshna, he passed away, a year or so ago. I just got a phone call the other day. His son just passed away. And I was thinking, wow. And his son is like maybe 60, and Charodeshna was almost 80. You can't say when it's going to happen. But luckily for his son, he was able to come to the Atlanta temple one more time before his father passed away and be with his father and push that button for the last cremation and be around devotees. So I'm sure he's blessed. He even met Srila Prabhupada as a little kid. So whatever time we have, we need to make sure we're making the investment. People invest money all the time. They do what's called due diligence before they spend $1 because they want to make it go and do something. So we only have so much time. So we're going to invest it in something we're not sure about, basing it on the fact that I know Sanskrit and I can do this and that. Yeah, but you better make sure that you're in line with what Prabhupada wanted. All this Sanskrit knowledge in the world is not going to take you back to Godhead. It's just not. I'm absolutely convinced that it's not. But if you just remain dedicated to Srila Prabhupada and what he wanted, and I meant to mention again about the 7 purposes, just study the 7 purposes of ISKCON and then try to apply that in your thinking, your feeling, your willing, your activities. What did Prabhupada want? It's there in the 7 purposes, so clear. So yeah, I think we just have to be careful, inspire others to be careful, promote and preserve Srila Prabhupada's presence and teachings. That's the best advice that I can give to myself and to others. Anything else, Vishnuvedar Prabhu?
I know in early ISKCON, when we played tapes and recordings, while you're in the kitchen or something, it was always Srila Prabhupada, but then it became so many others. But as far as possible, it's a good idea to hear the chanting from the lips of a pure devotee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was such a, I think, personally to me, very, very beneficial discussion when both of you were exchanging the thoughts. And that also reminded me that, okay, we might have a lot of skills, a lot of qualities, but Srila Rupa Goswami also says in National Instruction, but attitude
Yes.
is the most important thing in devotion, in Krishna consciousness. So that is a wonderful reminder. Anyone else, before I speak a lot, would have a question or want to share any thoughts? Yes, go ahead, Prabhu. Mr. Rangsundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I had one thing that Prabhuji was mentioning that we should be understanding that things are happening in ISKCON by the potency of Srila Prabhupada, and I feel little blessed somewhere that I experienced these things, and also blessed that there are people around who keep on pointing me in that direction that we should hear Prabhupada classes early in the morning and such reading Prabhupada's books. So that's one thing. And I had a question that you were mentioning, very specifically that the point that many times we say I think and this thing. So and it doesn't matter what you think or what I think, But this particular aspect, it is difficult to explain to a neophyte devotee. Many times they feel offended or they feel that, it's like a block. And I see that coming and, so is there any nicer possible way to get them out of the zone that, I feel this way and Krishna is with me or something like that? Instead of that, even if they have read Prabhupada's books, they still have that particular thought, or sometimes they even think that, Prabhupada just particularly wrote the books for that particular time. Now the times have changed and, like that. So, yeah, could you please shed some light on this?
Oops. That point you just made at the end is very significant. Oh, that was for the old times when Prabhupada was here, and now the times have changed, and da-da-da-da. I'm very patient with people, but on that particular point, I'm a little bit strict. No, all times, all places, forever. I mean, how many times have we quoted that these books are the law books for the next 10,000 years? Have we forgotten that so quickly? That Prabhupada now has become, not as important as the current person, whoever that person is. The current person is giving us more because Prabhupada didn't have enough time and he would have revealed this, but now he didn't. So, but I'm revealing it now because I've studied. That's why I said earlier, when someone's giving commentary on that point, I don't even listen to it. I don't really want to hear your commentary. I want to hear your commentary on what Prabhupada said. I'll listen all day as you're trying to understand what Prabhupada said. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be correct. I'm not always correct in what I'm thinking I understand from Srila Prabhupada, but I try my best to look at what he said and try to understand it. When I was studying for the day's class, that inconceivable potency part, I was trying to really understand what Prabhupada's saying here. And I studied, I looked at it, I thought about it last night, I thought about it this morning, a little something came to my heart. But to your point exactly, you first have to have a relationship with the person that you're trying to either correct or share with. And you quoted Rupa Goswami, Dadati Pratikridandi, Guyam Agyati Prichiti, Bunte Bojayate. So if we practice the loving exchanges with each other, then when I have to say something that's a little bit tough for you to hear, you will assume that I'm not trying to do it to be condescending, criticize you, that I'm trying to help you. But the relationship needs to be there. So my word of caution is don't try to instruct if you don't have relationships. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to speak up in a certain circumstance, but in individual relationships, make sure you're practicing the 6 principles of loving exchange from the nectar of instruction given to us by Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada also emphasized that, how he started the movement, loving exchange, giving prasadam. Of course, he didn't receive prasad because no one knew what prasad was, but he was giving prasad always and sharing with the devotees always, encouraging always, which is a principle in the 7 habits. No, I'm sorry, not his 7 habits. Prabhupada's 7 purposes. Number 3, bring the members of the society closer together and nearer to Krishna. So Prabhu, if you just practice that, make sure you have a loving relationship with the persons that you want to encourage or instruct, then that's more effective. But sometimes you don't have a choice, because when something has been spoken that's going to have a negative effect on others, you may have to speak up. And if you're sure about the corrective speech that you're going to give, make sure what you're going to say is also correct. Sometimes you have to hesitate giving feedback just to go back and make sure what you're thinking is correct. So again, Guru Shastra Sadhu is a very important principle. Hare Krishna. Oh, before we finish, I want to say Haribol to Parikshit Prabhu. I see your name is there. I know you're probably not able to speak, but I'm just praying for you and hoping you're getting better. We're just looking forward to you being back in the driver's seat. Hari Bol.
Yeah, we are looking forward to having back and post all morning. So yeah, I don't see any more hand raised. No. Okay, so Prabhuji, Parikshit Prabhu has posted a message. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Unfortunately, sitting in a rehab facility with very weak Wi-Fi, I am being prevented from verbally commenting on the discussion as much as I would like to. This is my fate. However, I'm listening. I'm horrible at typing in the chat. Even what I just did took a long time. But again, I'm listening. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. And Parikshit Prabhu, dear Krishna is doing an excellent job in your absence. So thank you, Prabhu.
All good to Srila Prabhupada.
All good to Prabhupada.
So I think, Prabhu, with your permission, we can conclude. But I would like to conclude with very, very important points that was mentioned during your class and between your exchange of thoughts with His Grace Vishnuvada Prabhu. A very important point that personally I found was every morning without fail, our first duty is to hear Srila Prabhupada's voice, his classes, his conversations, study Srila Prabhupada books, remember the 7 purposes. I mean, personally, I think every day I don't remember them, but that's a very good callback, very good reminder that how can we keep ourselves in track.
Yes.
And yeah, we all are representative of Srila Prabhupada. So that's another very big responsibility all of us have. And most important thing, Prabhu, from today's class, my takeaway was all that happens positively in our devotional life is when we keep Srila Prabhupada in our center, like we keep Krishna in the center. And negative happens when we forget Srila Prabhupada's instruction. I think that's a beautiful point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Balabhadra
Jai
Prabhu
Srila
ki jai,
Prabhupada.
His Grace
Hari
Vishnu
Hari
Gada Prabhu
Bol.
ki jai.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you everyone. We will see all of you tomorrow at same time for Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I see two devotees joined. Maybe they left. They didn't have the name. Okay, we'll question them next time. Just want to know their names. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.